So, meditation. Why did you choose this episode? Now, that's the first question I want to ask you today. My name is Laura Sagan, and I'm the host of On Emergence, a podcast on what it takes to be a human being. You can follow the yogic school of thought, where meditation is one of the ways that you can attain enlightenment. And you can follow meditation as a mindfulness technique, as a way to cope with certain experiences in your life that coming from more modern science background. So whichever way resonates with you is that I invite you to adopt this mindset. This episode is being recorded in Guatemala in a small town called San Marcos. So in case you hear roosters on the background, you know why. So meditation. Meditation is a topic that is very, very close to my heart. I discovered it in 2015 through an app called Headspace. This is not an affiliated, a sponsored episode. This is just an app that was introduced to me. This is where my journey to meditation, through meditation to meditation, and to all the destination that meditation has uncovered for me began. There are a number of different ways and different schools of thought that explore meditation. And for me, it has been a very special journey of now 8 years. So this episode has been recorded October 2023. So it's been about 8 years of the journey with meditation. And it started off as a way to just check out the app, what is meditation is about, what is Headspace, and they had this cool interface, to the journey that led me to some beautiful, profound experiences where I was reminded of who I am, where I'm being constantly reminded of what is it that is inside me, what is it that lights me up. It is a tool that I continuously use. It is a mindfulness tool. For me, it's also part of my spiritual practice. So I use a number of different practices that I've learned because I'm always curious about different school of thoughts and approaches. But what I've noticed is that it doesn't matter if you don't have any spiritual practice, if you're just purely scientific person who doesn't resonate with anything spiritual. Meditation and mindfulness is an invitation for you to understand your subconscious. It is an invitation for you to understand your inner workings. And the moment you understand your inner workings is the moment that you can start gaining control about what is the person that you are becoming. I talked about feelings and emotions in another episode, and I invite you to tune into that and listen to it. But the moment that we're able to identify the physical responses to certain situations, the moment that we're able to identify those physical responses that our body has, it is the moment where we can gain control over that emotion and feeling, and we can prevent our behavior being influenced by that feeling or emotion, no matter how old or how new that feeling and emotion is. And meditation is this invitation to look within, to get to know yourself, because it's something that we may experience more on a cerebral basis. It's kind of more often than not, I experience people saying that I am a nurse, or I am a mother, or I do XYZ for a living. So we use those external markers to define who we are without the actual experience of who we are, without that experience of us. What is it like to be us? What is it like to be you? What is it like to live in the body that you have? Or what is it like to have a body? What it's like to experience certain emotions? What is it like to go through a certain situation? And this perspective is that gift of meditation gives you. And this is the gift that I discovered for myself, and I'm a very big proponent of meditation. I teach meditation on a weekly basis in my normal daily life outside my travels. And this is something that I'm passionate about because it invites people to look into who they are. It invites and shines the light inside of you to show you who you really are. It also enables you to put this pause between the trigger and the reaction. So if you are more or less familiar with meditation, you know that there comes a point where you can begin to observe your emotions and feelings arising at this kind of ebb and flow of an ocean wave. You can observe as a certain emotion rises up, and you can observe it going down. And it also gives you and teaches you the sense of comfort, because you now know that every emotion has a beginning and has an end. It may not be as clear, but you begin to notice as you sit more with yourself in meditation, in stillness, when you shut down as much stimuli as possible. So, which is why personally, I'm a big fan of closed eye meditation. I do try to shut down the noises that I know will be distracted by. It helps in the early stages. And at the same time, when I teach meditation to other people, I often mention is that you can use those external triggers as an invitation for you to realize that you're not mindful. So if you are sat in meditation and you hear a sound and you notice the sound and you suddenly kind of jolted out from whatever state you're in, if you were in a state of meditation, you're able to let go of that sound and just continue staying with yourself. But if you were on this crazy train of thought that has something to do with your daily work, or maybe a conversation that you had, or a conversation that you're nervous and anxious of having, this external stimuli, this external interrupter can serve as a beautiful, beautiful reminder and a servant of yours to tell you that you're not being mindful, you're not in meditative state. Come back to yourself, come back to your breathing, come back to whatever was the object of your meditation. In some school of thoughts, meditation could be focused on one of the easiest, most accessible one, because there's one thing that we always have with us is our breath. Now, whether you're aware of it and maybe now listening or watching it, you suddenly became aware of your breathing, and that's a beautiful thing. If that's what happened, I'm happy. And the purpose of this episode, the goal of this episode has been completed. That if you, for a moment, you became mindful. Your breath is this anchor that you carrying with you wherever you go. It's always available. It's always there for you. It's always there for you to bring you to the present moment, no matter what is the experience that you're having right now. And it's one of the most beautiful points of using your breath as an object of your meditation. Sometimes when I'm standing in line and waiting for something, I don't like wasting time. But I take it as an invitation to focus on my breathing, to focus on what is going on within me. There's 101 things that I have to do throughout the day, but actually in the moments where I'm forced to be with myself, to observe my feelings, these days I've started welcoming this. And in a way, it gives me that space to myself to see what's happening within me, to see if I need anything, to see if my body needs anything, to see if my mind needs anything. So for example, the sense of boredom is your mind indicating something to you, and you're not able to notice that you're bored unless you familiarize yourself with what it feels like to be bored. So you may be bored already by hearing me speak about boredom, and that's a good thing. As long as you notice that you're becoming bored, then you're mindful of being bored, and then you can start observing as what this boredom is trying to tell you. People say, just do 5 minutes a day, and if that's all you can do, do that. I invite you to explore a concept of longer meditation, and there comes a point around between 12 and 15 minutes, is when your mind becomes still. You begin accessing a deeper level of your consciousness. You begin to explore a place within you that is deeper. And you realize at this point, you might begin to realize is that you're not your thoughts. The fact that you can disconnect with your thoughts during meditation is a sign that you're not your thoughts. And breaking that association link, that will be a very empowering tool, especially in the moments of stress. So if you're writing a stressful email and you notice that your body temperature elevates or your pulses is elevated, or you notice a certain pattern, if you are a practitioner, if you're a meditation practitioner, if someone who meditates, you're able to observe the change of your mind, catch yourself, and then by catching, you introduce this pause, And in that pause, you present yourself with a choice of what you want to do next. Do you want to get up and go for a walk? Do you want to continue writing that angry email? Or do you want to change the tone of your email? But it gives you that little window of opportunity, that window of control. And at the beginning, it may not be something that comes easy. At the beginning, it may not be natural. And at the beginning, what you might notice is maybe a couple moments later, you often doing something that you wish you didn't, is you realize that. And that's already progress. That is already a progress of meditation, is that you're able to catch yourself. As long as you're able to reflect upon your actions, analyze them, and learn from them, that's key. The mastery of meditation, the mastery of mindfulness comes is when you're able to be mindful in a triggering situation. So if you're having an argument with a loved one, with your partner, and you're able to stop and say, I need time to process, I need a pause, and convey it in a loving and caring way, or at least begin just by conveying it, not even necessarily in a loving and caring way. It may not be accessible for you at the beginning, but if you're able to introduce the pause in your thinking, and the pause in your thinking will introduce a pause in your behavior, this is what meditation brings you. So if 5 minutes a day, all that you can do, that's great, do that. I suggest explore longer meditations, so it's more around 20 minutes. And I know it sounds like a lot, like 20 minutes, that's a long time. It is. And I also have a warning to you, is that it becomes addictive, is when you start realizing just how rich, just how beautiful your inner world is, and just how amazing you feel after meditating, after spending that time with yourself. Meditation and mindful moments become something that you crave. It becomes something that you cannot live without. You cannot live without those 20 minutes of me time, those 20 minutes of where you spend with yourself. Is the way that you know that you need to nurture certain relationships in your life, a relationship with your partner, a relationship with your father, with your mother, a relationship with your friends. You know that you need to spend time. You know you need to know that what's going on with them. And you spend that time, you reach out, you check in, and with yourself, you need to do the same thing. And meditation is this invitation for you to check in with yourself, to spend that moment of time with yourself. Now, initially, what might happen is that you find it deeply uncomfortable. You find it uncomfortable to spend that time with yourself. I spoke to people before, and some of them had shared is that they're scared of meditation. They're scared to discover what is it within them. That breaks my heart a little bit, and at the same time, it makes me feel so excited for them, because once and eventually they discover who they are, the inner world, whatever point of time, whether this lifetime or next, once they discover who they are, this kind of the rainbow, this beautiful kaleidoscope of a human being, once they discover who they are, they would never want to leave that person alone and abandoned again, because that's what happens. We abandon ourselves. We abandon ourselves in a situation that feel uncomfortable, in situation that we feel hurt, that we feel pained. We abandon ourselves. One of the ways that we do it is that we use addiction. We numb our emotions. We numb the feelings of discomfort. But when we know that the best way for us to cope with those feelings and emotions is to provide this container, and that container is spending time with yourself, is the way that you listen to a loved one when they're going through a difficult experience in their life. It is what you do with meditation. It is what you do when you are spending that time on a daily basis, or daily basis in my books. If you're doing it 5 times a week, you're doing great. Seriously, don't worry about those 2 days. Those 2 days, they're going to come because eventually you become so addicted to meditation. You would want to spend a lot of your time in that state of just being. This is the state of relaxation as well, because once you go through that threshold of 12 to 15 minutes, is that you enter the state of relaxation. And no matter what I say, no matter what any other meditation teacher will tell you, no matter how many articles you read about meditation, the key of meditation isn't practice. Without practicing meditation, you will never experience the benefits and the state of mind that the meditation can induce upon you. You hear so many people who practice meditation talk about meditation a lot sometimes, including myself. And the reason being is because that state of mind is so beautiful. It is so comforting, and someone who suffers from too many thoughts in her head, someone who has so many projects and so many things to take care of. My meditation, my daily meditation, and I do it, it varies when I do it. Sometimes I do it at the gym, sometimes I do it first thing in the morning. But that peace, that time that I spend with myself, it is such a beautiful experience that I wish it upon anyone in my life. Among all the people on this planet, I wish to experience at least once of who they truly are. That inner state to know that there's nothing within that is scary, that everything that you are within is worth loving and worth giving attention to, and gaining that sense of comfort that comes from learning how to be with yourself, how to attend to yourself in the moment of grief or sadness. It gives so much power, it gives so much control, and not this kind of rigid control where you become attached to the outcome and you can't let go, but this kind of sense of ease and trust that no matter what, you will be okay. Because you've got your own hand. You know who you are. You know what your triggers are. You know how to deal with them. And the very first step to that is knowing what they are. The space to know what they are is meditation. There are different schools of thought. There's so many videos out there on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, you probably even have recommendation on meditation already. But I invite you to maybe even hit pause now, and then take 5 minutes of just observing your breath. And it may be incredibly boring. It probably will be if it's one of the first time that you were attempting to meditate. And stay with that boredom. What do you get to lose? You get to lose 5 minutes. You lose 5 minutes all the time. You lose minutes, you lose hours of time going through social media, reading the content that our mind should not be consuming in the first place. Instead, I invite you to consume the content of your own being, of your own mind, and see what comes up. See what comes up in the internal feed of your human psyche. See what your soul wants to communicate, what your subconscious wants to communicate to you. See if there's anything interesting in there. See if there's anything interesting in your own personal newsfeed. And it only takes 5 minutes. And at the same time, I want you to bear in mind that 5 minutes is just the beginning. This time becomes addictive, because once you realize that there's so much more within you, you begin to want to understand what else is there. It's this never-ending trove of human wisdom that you hold. This manual of how to be you that you hold within based on your own experiences of who you are, that you're just completely missing out if meditation is not part of your daily practice. There are beautiful resources available. There is an app that I begin my meditation journey called Headspace. There's Calm app. Personally, I use Timer. I design my own meditation depending on the length of time that I have. So sometimes I feel I have a little bit more time. So I do 30 minutes meditation where I'm just sitting with my breath. Or if there is a specific feeling that I want to sit with, whether it's probably an uncomfortable feeling as well, because I just want to look at it. I want to experience it, because if it is a feeling that is uncomfortable, I probably try to avoid it. And by avoiding it, I make this feeling bigger. So for example, in the sense of, I spent an entire episode talking about fear, but let's say if it is the fear that I'm experiencing, I can sit with this fear and observe how does it manifest itself in my body. And by observing it, I understand that this is not who I am, but this is just an emotion that I'm experiencing. And by allowing it space, I also take away the momentum that it has when I start resisting it. That is one of the examples. Personal challenge for me is to experience positive emotions, because the feeling of happiness, I caught myself the other night of saying I'm happy. And I realized that I didn't use the same language that I normally use with negative emotions. So for example, when I'm feeling anger, I say I feel anger, or I have sadness within me, or I feel sadness in my stomach. And I noticed that I talk about happiness as I am happy. And I notice how much it overwhelms me just to say that I am happy, that I am happiness. Is for some reason it felt so overwhelming that in that moment, because I practiced meditation, I was able to identify the difference in vocabulary, the difference in the language that I use. And I was able to rephrase this and to say, I feel happiness. And then it set me off on this inner journey of discovering, well, where does happiness live in my body? How does happiness feel? How does it feel in my solar plexus? So it's if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see where I'm pointing on my solar plexus. And if you're listening on Apple Podcast or any other platform, I invite you to Google where your solar plexus is if you don't know. But for me, happiness kind of resided in this upper part of my body. To know that happiness is also an object for me, that this is not who I am, but this is the experience that I'm having. It gives a lot more comfort for me to experience, because as someone who is not experienced at having positive feelings, as someone who is used to struggle, as someone who is not used to just the feeling of joy, those positive emotions can be overwhelming. And by adopting a practice of mindfulness, of meditation, and dissociating yourself from the experiences that you're having, from the emotional and physical experiences that you're having, from dissociating yourself with it, it puts you in the seat of control of choosing how you react to them. It removes the sense of overwhelm, or at least it helps removing the sense of overwhelm when you're going through these emotional experiences. And then with some practice, you can actually induce those states of mind upon yourself. When you know that it is the warm sensation in your chest that causes you to feel more happy, start thinking, okay, but now I feel coldness, now I feel cold. And sometimes placing your hand on your chest is something that can give you a sense of comfort, if not full happiness, but a sense of comfort that someone is hugging you, even if that someone is you. And that is also another beautiful thing, is that understanding that you have all the tools within you to look after yourself. That is a whole different topic when we begin to realize that everything that we need to make ourselves feeling happy, to experience positive emotions, to experience life in a more positive way, to have a more positive outlook, to live the life with courage, because the situation that induces a state of fear, anger, or sadness are always going to be there. But once you understand that you will have the tools to look after yourself in those situations, you're able to take more risks in your life. And those risks would be the possibility and opportunities for you to grow as a human being. Those are going to be the lessons, the situations that will make you grow the most. These are the situations that you're going to explore something new that you haven't experienced in your life. And those experiences are only becoming available once you become curious about yourself, once you become curious about your inner workings and your inner world, once you become curious about the darkness that you feel you may be carrying within you, or that lightness that you sometimes feel. So if you needed this invitation, if you ever needed this invitation to look within, this is it. I'm very passionate about meditation, so if you have any question about practices, about some certain daily practices that I use, leave those questions in comments or message me privately. I like public comments because it opens a conversation and a discussion, so do feel free to post your questions, because from the answer to your question, other people can benefit too. If you want to share your own meditation practices, your favorite meditation teachers, tag them, let me know. I may end up interviewing some of them. Now I want to finish this episode with just a moment of closing your eyes, if it is safe for you to do so. So if you're not driving or operating machinery, feel free to close your eyes for a moment and observe your breathing. See where it lives in your body right now. See if it is more shallow in the area of your throat. Or maybe it is living in your chest or in your belly. And just observing, just noticing how your inner body, how your inner world is doing today. Don't judge it. It is what it is. You experience it. You're experiencing your inner world right now. And this is a reminder that you are not your inner world. That you are the person, you are the being who is experiencing that emotional state, who is experiencing the state of inner world that you're currently feeling. You are the human being who is experiencing their own breath. I know that this might have been a concept a little bit too far out for some of you, but I hope you approach it with a sense of curiosity, the sense of wonder about who you really are. My name is Laura Sagan, and I'm your host of On Emergence. I invite you to leave your feedback about this episode or podcast in general in the comments below if you're watching it on YouTube. Please consider subscribing. It inspires me to create more content that resonates with the community, with people, to help them on the journey of becoming who they really are, on the journey of becoming human.